Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the right-hand man of the DR Congolese President is temporarily relieved of his duties because of a corruption trial. Vital Kamerhe denies having skimmed more than $50 million off of public funds. Also, crowds of voters pack into rallies as candidates for Burundi's presidential election ramp up campaigning ahead of next week's vote. The poll will select a replacement for controversial incumbent Pierre Nkurunziza. And home-brewed pineapple booze is the solution of choice for South Africans desperate for a drink. A ban on alcohol sales was brought in as part of the country's coronavirus restrictions, and many are finding it tough going. But first, the DR Congolese Chief of Staff has been temporarily replaced because of blowback from his embezzlement trial. Vital Kamerhe is the most senior politician to ever face trial for corruption in the country. He's accused of stealing more than $50 million worth of public funds. Clément Bonnereau tells us more.
Vital Kamerhe is the most senior politician to ever face trial for corruption in DR Congo. He's been accused of embezzling more than $50 million in funds intended for the construction of some 4,500 prefabricated homes. This project was part of a $500 million investment plan launched by President Félix Tshisekedi after he took office in January 2019. Two other defendants face similar charges, Lebanese businessmen Sami Jamal and Jano Mouima, who's the head of import-export operations at the presidency. During a 2-hour hearing on Monday, Vital Kamerhe denied any wrongdoing, saying that he wasn't the only one in charge of supervising public sector contracts. He also insisted that he did not know, or at least that he didn't remember, meeting any of his two co-defendants. His lawyers, meanwhile, say the trial is politically motivated, aimed at stopping Kamerhe from running for president in 2023. It's worth remembering that Kamerhe had backed Tshisekedi's successful bid for the presidency in 2018 in return for Tshisekedi's support the next time round in 2023. The trial has been adjourned to the 25th of May to allow defendants more time to prepare their case. Vital Kamerhe will remain behind bars until then.
Lesotho has become the last African country to record its first case of COVID-19. The positive test came from one of 81 travellers from South Africa and Saudi Arabia. Test results from 301 others are still to come. Overall, on Wednesday, the continent logged over 69,760 confirmed infections, with 2,421 deaths. Well, Burundi is a week away from presidential elections. Voters will be choosing a replacement for Pierre Nkurunziza, who will be stepping down after 15 years in office. His re-election in 2015 triggered years of unrest as opposition figures said that his running for a third term was unconstitutional. Following a bombing in Bujumbura on Sunday, there are mounting fears that the upcoming polls could turn violent. Both men running for the top job have strong followings. Nicolas Chemin tells us more.
In Burundi, there are officially very few COVID-19 cases and large rallies are authorized. On Wednesday, a big crowd came to listen to Évariste Ndayishimiye, the candidate of the ruling party. Tensions have been running high between his supporters and those from the main opposition movement, the CNL. Ndayishimiye chose to mock CNL members. Huge crowds also attended this rally by the CNL's leader, Agathon Rwasa. In recent years, his party said some of its supporters have been attacked and even killed by security forces. Rwasa sent out a message to the police and intelligence services.
mugabo ibanga mufise n'iry'igihugu korera igihugu ntacyo mucisha ku giti no kwibuye nuko mudahuza iby'ibwira.
Rwasa says he fears the ruling party will rig the election. The authorities here are regularly criticized by human rights organizations. The main surprise of this campaign is that the incumbent Pierre Nkurunziza is not a candidate. The constitution was amended and in theory he could have run for a fourth mandate. In the end, his party nominated Ndayishimiye. But many believe that Nkurunziza, who's been Burundi's president for 15 years, will try to remain influential.
Cycling enthusiasts in Tunisia want cities to be made more bike-friendly. The dangers of heading out on two wheels in the capital were underlined earlier this month when a cyclist died after having been knocked off his bike by a car. It sparked a demonstration by Tunisians calling for better bike lanes. Take a look.
It's one of the first big gatherings since Tunisia eased its lockdown measures. Cyclists put on their masks, respecting social distancing, to make a demand: the setting up of bike lanes and better road safety. This comes after the death of one of their own. Radia Khaled was mown down by a car.
Nous sommes venus ici pour faire une piste cyclable virtuelle avec nos propres vélos, sachant qu'il faut laisser 1,5 mètre. C'est les standards d'une piste cyclable. Et comme vous voyez, les gens sont pleinement joyeux d'avoir une piste cyclable, même pour 30 minutes. C'est un rêve pour aujourd'hui, mais ce sera une réalité pour demain, Inch'Allah.
Most cyclists are concerned about the lack of road safety, especially now as more cars return to the roads as lockdown is slowly lifted.
Des fois, j'ai peur parce qu'il y a les voitures. D'ailleurs, mes parents ils m'appellent chaque 10 minutes pour voir si je vais bien. Et en fait, je trouve que cet événement est très intéressant parce qu'avoir des pistes cyclables, c'est une question de sécurité, surtout pour les cyclistes.
In the congested capital, bikes are still rare. There are a few bike lanes in Tunisia, but most are far from the capital and some are still under construction. This one was a welcome discovery for this cyclist.
It's a bit limited, but it's a good start for Tunisia.
Sabrine had to turn to biking because her driving license was confiscated during the coronavirus shutdown when she went out without authorization.
I decided to repair my bike and use it to go shopping, to get some fresh air.
Since the lockdown, many other Tunisians have also chosen this option, and the rise in people choosing to cycle is good news for bike shops.
The mentality of Tunisians has changed a lot. Some cycle for sport. There's awareness about well-being and about keeping in good health. Here, our sales have gone up by 30%.
As businesses and offices begin to reopen, those hoping to avoid crowded public transport might choose to stick to two wheels.
Now, back in March, the South African government banned the selling of alcohol as part of its nationwide coronavirus lockdown. Supplies have run dry, but the thirst remains. That's led to an uptick in those choosing to brew their own. Our correspondents tell us more.
In the Guguletu township, about 20 kilometres from Cape Town, the lockdown has pushed some to take matters into their own hands. With liquor stores closed, Abraham is making pineapple beer. Fruit, sugar and yeast is all he needs.
It takes you almost 2 to 3 hours to make you drunk. And secondly, I like it for only one thing. It cleans you inside. You must go to the toilet tomorrow in the morning or in the middle of the night. It happens, but it's clean. It makes you clean.
South Africans are legally allowed to produce 100 litres of home-brewed beer per household. Selling is not allowed, so the only option is to drink it. The longer the brews rest, the stronger they are. The drink has become so popular that in Cape Town, many shops have doubled the price of pineapples. People across all social groups are keen to try the recipe. The head of one brewing association has been flooded with calls. Samantha gives out advice explaining, for example, that pineapple skin contains natural yeast, meaning there is no need to add much more. The process can be dangerous.
Here's one. So that when you, if it was in glass, it has the potential to explode. They're called bottle bombs. So if it's in this plastic bottle, you're a lot safer. And then you've just got to gas it every now and then, so it releases the gas.
The enthusiasm for pineapple beer is not enough to keep professional breweries afloat, with many on the verge of bankruptcy.
People are going to end up losing houses, cars. I hope that the government can see this, can do something about it, can change it, because it needs to change.
With liquor stores closed, the alternative can be deadly. A couple died in the Eastern Cape earlier this month after drinking their own homemade alcohol.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again if you can. Take care.